To Old Trafford this afternoon, big points dropped for Man United, who led the game twice, courtesy of goals from Rasmus Hojlund and Marcus Rashford. Tottenham were the better team, had the majority of the ball. They created the better opportunities in the game, and of course, in the title race, according to Big Ange Postecoglou, will be disappointed probably with the level of domination his side had in this game, conceding the way they did, but not capitalizing and getting all 3 points. And at the death, Man United had a chance to win it. And Scott Mctomiany again, just demonstrating that he isn't quite of that standard. Well, we're not even quite. We know he's nowhere near the standard, but even when it comes to getting those goals, he just isn't quite as clutch as we would all hope him to be. Should have buried that chance. United could have walked away as 3-2 winners in a game that I felt before the game started, we had an opportunity to win, but the game went exactly how I said it would, but we just didn't take that final chance. I knew we wouldn't be the better team. I knew Spurs would outperform us, but I knew we'd be able to score some goals. And I was really impressed with the front line in the first half. I thought Garnacho, Rashford, and especially Rasmus Hojlund were very, very dangerous indeed, especially Rasmus with his hold-up play. Everything today that I would expect from this boy, demonstrating what it is that he could become. And I thought we had the ability today just to humble a few of those Spurs fans who have been coming for Man United recently, and we should have done it in the end exactly the way I thought we would. Not the better team, probably undeserving of a win, but nicking it nevertheless. But Scott McTominay couldn't take that chance at the end. Twice Man United collapsed and threw the game away. And am I surprised? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I understand that Man United have got a player or two missing. And this is all I keep hearing. And I know a lot of people love Ten Hag, but I've got to say this. Man United, yes, Lissandro's on the bench. Casemiro's out. Luke Shaw isn't available, as an example. You could throw Mount into the equation if you choose to, because he's a big signing for this manager. But we haven't had our players available. And that is always when the players come back, Man United will play better. But look at Tottenham today. No Sarr, no Basuma, no Maddison, no Son, no Kulusevski. 5 of their first team players out. And the football was excellent. Now, there was a lack of end product from the Brennan Johnsons, the Timo Werners, the Skips, the Højbjergs. Why? Because they're not of the standard either, really. I'm not convinced on Brennan Johnson just yet, but he is young. Spurs fans want all of those players really and truly replaced in the next couple of transfer windows for a high standard. But the patterns of play, the style was there. This is why I reject the notion that Man United can't play better football. I reject it with an absolute passion, because you cannot convince me that 6 or 7 of the outfield players for Tottenham today are by far and away technically more proficient than the Man United team that's played today, yet they move the ball better. Their patterns are there to be seen. Their shape is very, very good. They play better football. They're drilled to play better football. And that, for me, is the fundamental difference between the two clubs. Big Ange and their rebuild has only just begun, and you can see the foundations. You can see the green shoots of hope. The lack of overall quality in the team. You throw Son, Kulusevski, Maddison, Basuma, Sarr out on that pitch today, Man United, more likely than not, take an absolute battering. We have got players missing as well, but so have they. And at this moment in time, they've got more out than we do. But yet we're able to still score goals. Yet we still won 10 games this season. And that's because we have a lot of quality players in this team. But it is the system that is letting us down above and beyond everything else. Of course, there's players that need to be improved upon. The likes of Scott McTominay, we know he's not good enough. There's no way on earth that Johnny Evans should be a starting centre-back for Man United right now. AWB is technically awkward at right back, let alone playing at left back. So, of course, there are still holes in this squad to fix. I'm not coming out with some lame brain, redundant opinion that give a world-class manager this squad and we win the league. That isn't being said. But the lack of style from Manchester United is a huge, huge problem for us. that we must address. We have to address it. It's the elephant in the room. But today should be that wake up and smell the coffee moment for Man United fans. I get back in your manager. I get back in processes. I get there is some people that view being a fan as being supportive, especially publicly. But for me, the lack of progression in our football, the way in which we were just dominated 63% of the ball to 36% at home in the Premier League, 8 shots to 16, 3 on target to 6 on target by a Tottenham B team with Timo Werner starting in it and with a midfield of which half of which a lot of their fans want sold and out the club, tells you all you need to know. It tells you all you need to know. This manager is never going to be good enough to get us to the level that we want to go to. Whether you blame him, whether you blame the Glazers, whether it's the players, he is still part of that issue. I don't agree with the notion that he's everything wrong with the club. That, again, is an exaggerated matter. But if Spurs with this starting 11 can play the football they did, dominate the ball like they did, there's no excuse for us not being able to. But he didn't get his midfielder that he needed. Bullshit. It's a nonsense. So look, am I happy with the draw? No, in the overarching scheme of Man United. In the context of this season and where we are, yeah, kinda. I'll take it to a degree. Because I know where we are. I know how bad we are as an overarching team right now. But so much has got to change. So Jim was there today, and I hope he sees it. I want to shout out a few positive things though for Man United today for anyone that doesn't think I'm going to do that. Firstly, Rashford's goal. Good finish from Rashford. Brilliant 1-2 from him. Loved it. I'm more looking at the team here. We have won the ball back so regularly this season, especially in our opponent's half, but seldom created a clear scoring opportunity from it. I was actually really proud of the team. They did that. More of the same, please. Well, that was an excellent and well-worked goal. Wonderful play from Rasmus to play it back to Rashford, who, in fairness, in the first 45 minutes, had Porro and Romero absolutely on toast, and he cooked them. I want to shout out Bruno first half. People don't like this term, but I actually think it works quite well. His ability to sense opportunities when players are making runs. They call it scanning now. In my day, scanning was just vision. He has excellent vision. Not always the execution, but excellent vision. First half performance from him. Very, very happy with that one indeed. That's it. That's all I've really got to say. Obviously, like, player-wise, individually, Rasmus Hojlund as well. Look, Rasmus Hojlund today, he's had so much unnecessary criticism this season. He really has. So much unnecessary criticism, I believe. The same people saying the system's dead, the training's dead, the coaching's dead, the team's dead. The player comes in and they go, well, why haven't you changed us and turned us around? Yes, because that's normally what happens. A manager that you say isn't good enough in a system that isn't working buys a new striker and fixes everybody. You can't find me an example where that has happened in football because it doesn't work that way. But he was excellent today, to be fair. He was really, really good. And I think there's a serious player in there. There's a serious football player. There's someone that can finish. The only disappointment I had wasn't even him. It's that after his goal and after a few chances he created, we didn't create anything for him. And I know we did against Wigan and he didn't take them, but this is the problem. You look at Spurs today, the amount of opportunities that they create, the amount of opportunities yesterday City create. If you're giving Hojlund at least 1 to 2 chances per game like we had against Wigan, he's going to score you so many goals over the course of a 50-game season across all competitions. And what he has in his locker is the type of goal that he scored today. But he needs to build that confidence up. So I was very, very happy with him. Someone here says, calm down. What do you mean calm down? You know he was good today, and you know there's a player in there. Let's just stop acting like that's crazy talk. So, yeah, look, I was happy with elements of Bruno in the first half. I was happy with our pressing in the first half and our attack overall. I thought they were dangerous. But we faded in the game. We ran out of ideas. And so much of that comes down to the system of which we play. And to do that at home against a Tottenham B team, and I mean that with no disrespect to Tottenham whatsoever. I don't even mean that in a horrible way. With what we've spent, with what we've invested, it shouldn't be happening. And I think what Ange Postecoglou has done in the Premier League is shut down that myth that you So I was reading something there. Shut down that myth that you can't start the process of introducing your style of play until you have all your players. I don't know where Man United fans have plucked that out from. It is an absolute nonsense. I love this here. 2 goals in 18 games. Yes, absolutely. He hasn't had a great return so far in the Premier League. But you know, Man United are in the bottom 2 in the Premier League for nearly every single attacking element. And if your chances created, your big chances created, etc., are of the lowest level, your goal scorers are also, generally speaking, going to be quite low as well, even if their conversion rate is good. I'm not suggesting he hasn't had bad games in that period, of course. But across all competitions, it's 7 goals. And I know we love to do the 007 thing, but he sorted that out in like his 3rd game for the club. He has 7 goals this season. Excellent performance today. I want more of the same. He's rightfully been criticised in games recently. The last match reaction show, I criticised him. But today he was much, much better. And there's a player in there. The point I'm making is that all the people that have been getting on his back after the Wigan game said, there you go, see, he missed some chances. Cool. But he could literally go 5 games now in this team, and we don't create that level of chances for him again. So what do you think he's going to do when he gets those opportunities in the future? He snatches at them because they're not regular enough. Team sport, they all need to help each other. He should be criticised for his mistakes, and he has been. But let's not ignore the fact that this is one of the worst Man United teams in our club's history, and we're putting it all on an inexperienced striker that hasn't got as many goals as Haaland yet, just because their names are similar. It's crazy, my friend. Absolutely crazy to me. But as I say, look, my opinion on Man United hasn't changed. Lots of new players needed over the next couple of years. A big change at board level. The manager does need to go. The style of play is absolutely dross, and we saw that today. I want your views and I want your opinions. The panel's coming very, very soon. Please make sure you smash the like button and you subscribe to the Football Terrace. I'll give you guys, when anyone says, what are you talking about? That means I agree with Terry, but I don't want to admit it. We all know what that means. Some super chats here. My brother Jerome says Spurs would not have scored even if they had another 15 minutes. Johnson provided absolutely nothing. We will have players that cannot score. So disappointing. Yeah, look, I thought Brennan Johnson today, I agree with you. I thought Brennan Johnson was absolutely atrocious. I don't rate him as a football player. I've not seen much improvement from him. He reminds me a little bit of a Theo Walcott, but not as good. Without pace, he'd be playing in League One. I genuinely believe that. Every cross he put in today was just so poorly hit. He's a thorn in the side because he's got electric pace. Outside of that, I don't know what else he offers. And I think when Tottenham have all their players back and everyone's fit, I actually think Timo Werner's a better footballer than him. I think Timo Werner looked far more of a threat today. Then, he got the assist as well, but far more of a threat today than Brennan Johnson was. Can't moan about Rasmus Hojlund today. Man didn't play bad. He played well. Played very, very well, Ray. Would have took that before the game, had the majority of the ball, but barely done anything with it. Skip was actually good. Fair play to him. Richie, man of the match. Yeah, Richarlison was dangerous today. He looked really good today. He just looks like a different player at the moment. 6 goals in 6 games for him as well now, and he's really starting to come alive in this Tottenham team as well. Pretty football means nothing if we cannot put the ball in the back of the net. Hence, I have no idea why Werner is playing for us. Look, I look at it this way. I'm going to stand by my principles on this. Good level of performances over a longer period of time are far more sustainable than winning playing badly, as a general rule. Spurs are creating a very good foundation and base. But I look at your start. I'm just going to refresh the stats I've got on my screen because they have the starting 11 on it. I look at the starting 11 you started with today. The back 4 in the goalkeeper, yes. But Skip, Bentancur, Højbjerg, everybody's fit. That's not your starting midfield. If everybody's fit, Werner, Richarlison, Johnson. Richarlison might start right now, but the other 2 are not. So 50% of your outfield team, I believe in 2 seasons' time, may not even be here. Bentancur may be on the bench. When it comes to the players that came on, Royale and Hill won't be there. Dragusin obviously will be. So if you go through your team today, there's a good 50% of it that will not be at your club in a couple of years' time. You need to build that foundation, Jerome, of that style of football, and then you add better quality to it. This lie that Man United fans are perpetuating, that we will start playing Ten Hag's brand of football once we build the squad, is ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's not how. There is no one in this world, whether it's a fighter, whether it's a business, a football team, whether it's I'm training my dog, right? I'm training my dog. I don't go, right, I'm going to wait until he's 2 years old to start all the training, and then I can teach him the really difficult stuff. No, you start with the basics now of how you want that dog to behave. Every type of coaching, every type of running of a business is done that way. You start as you mean to go on. You don't go, right, we'll leave it as it is until we've built the squad, then we'll start to coach. Madness. It just doesn't even make sense to anybody who's had a decent job in their life or worked at any kind of level within this world to even think that's normal. A doggy pocketed Garnacho today. Listen, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'm going to back Garnacho here. I thought it was a very even game between the two of them. Garnacho in the first half, I think, had the better of the exchanges. But Doggy had a really good game today. A really, really good day. A bit of a dive for a penalty when he felt the little nudge in the back. But no, I wouldn't say it was a pocketed job at all. He had opportunities, he had moments. He didn't rip him apart, but I thought it was a fairly even contest between the two. Doggy pocketed Garnacho. Two people saying the same thing at once. Fair enough. If that's how you viewed it, my man, I'm going to respect that, and I'll leave you to that. But I didn't really see it that way. I thought it was a really good battle between the two of those today. A few United fans asking, what about the penalty and Garnacho? Look, I'm going to stay consistent. Not a penalty. He's holding him, but it's not a penalty. The same way that when Rasmus Hojlund slightly held Rodri, it wasn't a penalty. I'm keeping it consistent. I'm not going to stoop down to gutter level analysis and go, well, we conceded one, so I want one. What I will say is Mike Dean, and I cannot wait to cook this guy. I'm going to cook him to pieces. His wife might divorce him. I'm going to make him look so bad. He stated, I'm paraphrasing here, but I'll get the exact quote. When the arms are put around Rodri, he said, well, you put your arms around somebody and you stop them from running, it's a clear foul, no question. Today, he said, just because you put your arms around somebody doesn't mean it's a penalty or they should go down. So the analysis is awful, right? I'm sticking true to my guns. I don't think it was a penalty, but my word, the fact they can't just say, like, keep it consistent and all they ever try to do is defend the referees, that's the abomination here. And the Rodri one wasn't completely different. His arms around his waist. Doesn't matter if you're running or trying to run. Yes, the difference was Rodri was running and he grabbed him. But my man couldn't even run because he was being held. Neither are penalties. It's a common occurrence in the box. Neither should be given. But ex-referees should just own up when their colleagues have made mistakes, is what I'm talking about now. Commentary, Garnacho isn't good. Blake, that's irrelevant to the conversation. And yes, I am rattled. I'm rattled by the inconsistency of punditry around refereeing. It's an absolute abomination. It wasn't a pen, but Richarlison got a free kick for the exact same thing like 10 minutes later. Well, exactly. We know they're not penalties. They're never penalties. They are fouls outside the box. And I can live with that. But yeah, exactly. And also, we saw another yellow card today. The tackle from AWB wins the ball, but then takes the player out with the trailing leg. When I said a few weeks ago, you'll see yellow cards for that for outfield players. But if a goalie comes out and does that, they just say good. The commentators go, "It's a good challenge." Told you, it's ridiculous. But there we go. There we go. We're going to bring the panel out now to have their say on the show. Make sure you're hitting the like buttons. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Got a lot of people here to talk about this game today. Of course, KJ's here. We have got Cameron. We've got Dizzy. We've got George. We've got Will, Orchie, Strasbourg, Steve, and Matt here with us as well. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from around the world. KJ, I want to go to you first of all. More drop points from winning positions for Man United. Talk to me.
What is rubbish, bro? We are not good. We are not good. Honestly, Spurs should have won that game. If they're Spurs, we are fortunate that Spurs had Werner and Johnson out there today, and they brought on Brian Hill and they had Oliver Skip in the 10 or wherever he was playing, because these guys are average players. If they had if they had Kulu, if they had Maddison, if they had Son, if they had Basuma, if they had Sarr, we're getting smoked, absolutely smoked. And it's to the point where, as much as the players aren't good enough, as much as the players are performing poorly, how much more can we say the players when the same issues every game are happening. It's not like different players are making separate mistakes each games, and that's why we lose or that's why we don't win. It's the same thing every week. This guy has screwed us. Ten Hag has screwed us this year. And I don't care about the injuries because guess what? Every team this year has had injuries. Every team has also played better than us. So what now? Ten Hag didn't need to do what he's done this year, yet he has done it. And I'm tired. I am tired. And I'm sad because this season means nothing. It means nothing because there's nothing for us to do. There's no Champions League because we're out. No Carabao Cup to retain because we're out. The FA Cup, we see how far we go. But guess what? We'll probably be out of that too at some point. And in the league, we're not fighting for Europe. I don't care what anyone says. The points here say that we're fighting for Europe, but the way that we're performing shows that we're not fighting for Europe. This season's only good for giving Manu minutes, Hojlund minutes, and Garnacho minutes. That's all it is there for, because we don't learn anything else new about this team besides seeing those three play and seeing what they do. It's jarring. It's jarring. I don't care if we didn't lose. We're flipping Man United.
So you don't think Europa League is attainable?
No, bruv. I don't care. I don't think Conference League is attainable because this team is crap. The way we're playing is crap. So don't sit there and be like, oh, but look where you are. I don't flipping care. If we get it, fine. But to do what in it? To do what exactly? We're not gonna go win those things unless we change coach, unless we change structure as a club, and we move forward with Sir Jim and Ineos. But we have to wait for that.
We saw this situation, KJ, in the game, and I want to go to Cameron on this as well. The second goal we conceded was such an atypical goal this year, where with our system, the 2-8s are up the pitch, a ball's played fast through the midfield, they don't get back in time, and Bentancur puts it in, and it doesn't matter that it was Eriksen today, because it's been Eriksen, it's been Bruno, it's been Mctomiany, it's been Casemiro this season, not in a position to be able to defend the runs from him, because our manager can persist, especially when we're leading, on putting both 8s up the pitch, and we consistently concede goals and opportunities that way. How bad was the system today, and how much did it kill us again?
Man, the defending on that goal. Yeah, it's the system for sure. Like, I saw a lot of people getting on Onana. I'm like, he blasted it from 10 yards out. Like, no one's saving that. I don't care. Like, he just walked in because there was no resistance. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one because our system's not working. I don't know how it ends up working. I don't think it will. But I'm still in the same spot, right? It's kind of like, what else? You fire Ten Hag, nothing changed. Nothing would change at all this year. I know everyone's saying, oh, it definitely would. I actually truly believe nothing would change at all. So I'm kind of like, so Jim was there. He was watching. He now knows. He's seeing it firsthand what he needs to do. I don't fully agree with KJ on like, we're not going to get, I think we finish in Europe. I'm not saying we didn't do anything, but at the end of the day, when you change management, when you change coaches, things can change fairly quickly. I mean, Tottenham, we're seeing it firsthand. Like you're seeing a coach come in and instill his style. And the reason why I'm like not yelling Ten Hag out is because I look around and I'm like, who do you bring in that would implement a style that would carry into next year? Because that's what matters, right? It's not about, like, when I think about it, it's not about this year. So if you're going to sit here and say this year's dead, nothing matters, we're playing for nothing, there's literally no point in bringing in a coach that's not going to be here next year. Like, you might as well just let the season be dead, let it all die, and figure it all out next year. Because, yeah, our system doesn't work. And then when you bring in Scott, like, within 12 minutes, I sit there and I'm just like, all right, well, if you don't score, it's over. Like, you know, like if he doesn't
score, and he missed the fact that the fact he brought Scott McTominay on instead of Casemiro. Like, what was going through your head at that moment as a Man United fan?
I didn't even know Cass was on the bench.
Bro, I think it's all a bit mad, because I think what I thought at that point was, how does he turn it around this season? Because he's continuously making mistakes. He's continually making decisions that seem to baffle everybody. And everybody else can see what the issues are, but not him. So then when McTominay came on, I was like, well, we have like 3-4 months of the season left. And how does he change this around? How does he... because now you're getting players that are coming back fit, and it's like, does that really move the needle when the players that he trusts are the Mctominay's of the world, the Garnachas of the world, who has his moments, but he's still very raw. The Hoylands, who he scored today, and it was a great goal, but it's still very raw. Rashford, who's yeah, he scored today, but again, he's very hit and miss. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was just thinking, how does anything change? And I think the problem for United fans is we've got too used to saying, "Well, this season's over. Chalk this one off. Start again next year." When next year comes, as soon as we hit a bad patch, it's like, well, the season's over again. Start again next year, and it's all a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but bro, that's because there's nothing to build from. Look at Spurs. Spurs could crash and burn for the rest of the season and get nothing. But at least their fans can sit there and say, from what we saw, we can build off that for the future. We can build off that, get better players in, and we will climb up the league. What we see week in, week out at Manchester United is not even hope, not even a glimmer of hope. It's the same crap week in, week out that leads to nowhere. So that's why every season we sound like that. It's because we as a club do not have a plan for the future. Even Spurs, with Daniel Levy as a chairman, have a plan for the future, and we do not. This is a disgrace in running of a football club. It's a disgrace of running of a team, and we need it. Sir Jim in the stands. You need to really and truly go in there and get ready to get rid of a load of people, because this can't run. Because if you are just sitting there palling up with Fergie just to keep the same thing going, it's never going to change. Like, he's the only person that can change it, and we have to wait until February anyway to potentially see any change. So
Really quickly though, I'll say this: credit to Tottenham. They played some incredible football, especially like after we scored the first goal. I don't think we touched the ball for another 15 minutes or so, and then the whole second half, it looked like Tottenham were just they were popping the ball around. They were finding the extra man. They played some sensational stuff. So I think even if we came to play today, I think a draw was probably more or less what was on the cards for us, to be honest.
You guys have to be happy with a draw here. You guys have to be happy walking away with a 2-2, because if we're being honest, Terry,
yeah,
like you mentioned like 10 minutes ago, if we had any of those other players that we've been missing for the past couple months, or even just having a player like Son back, someone who's just a bit more clinical in that front three, we would have put you guys away by 3 or 4 today minimum. We should have won today, and any Tottenham fans probably. We're disappointed with the result. I'm not happy with the draw. And to walk away with that, because we all expected going into the game, we wanted to win. But to walk away knowing that we left so much on the pitch, it's frustrating, because that front three, look, we always knew there was going to be problems with the attack. We always thought that there was going to be problems goal scoring as well with those front three. Richarlison, Werner, and Johnson are not very mobile, not known for goal scoring. And do you know, I was impressed at points with how Werner was playing, but it's just like those little opportunities, those moments where you're looking for a game changer, we're missing that. We were missing that massively today. And we just had to look at the great defensive performance and probably the midfield performance for us to say this is how we got through the game. But Man United fans should be happy, man. I feel like you guys should walk away and say, look, we got a point today. Yeah. We got a point.
No, we can't be.
You're not going to. I get what you're doing there. You're not going to be able to gaslight us. I understand. Maybe I said it in my opening speech, if you want to call it that. In the context of where we sit and how poor we are, you could argue you could be happy with that result. But with what we invest, what we pay these players, what we expect on a return on that investment, it's nothing to do with having a divine right to win. But when you spend the most amount of money in the Prem, you have one of the highest wage bills in the world, you can't be happy with it. It's impossible to be. You know, we are. I mean this with respect to your club. In 100 years' time, Tottenham won't be bigger than Man United. You won't have won more than us. You won't have more fans than us. And that's not a dig. This is just there is a gulf in size, not class, in size between the two clubs. If we were suddenly spending like a Burnley, then cool, I could be happy with drawing with Tottenham, who are a very rich club with billionaire owners who are up near the top that should, with what you spend, be challenging for major honours. But the fact we spend more than you, have a bigger wage bill than you, and within 6 months of having a new manager, your football is better than us. And I'm sorry to call you out, man, like Canadian Cam, but this is a team with half its squad missing, and they're playing the brand of football the manager wants. This nonsense that because we didn't get De Jong, we can't play that style of football. When Ten Hag said that, that's why I lost all faith in him, because I've never in my professional life, when I did martial arts for the UK, I've never heard that from anyone that's serious. You start as you mean to go on when it comes to coaching and building those blocks for the future. And the reason why Tottenham are better than us is because they can just hold on to the ball better. We go 1-0 up and then 2-1 up. We can't hold on to the ball. It's like trying to carry water in a bucket with a fucking big hole in it. And some of it is players, I get that. But I wouldn't honestly, I mean this with respect again, I wouldn't buy 70% of the Spurs players that featured today. I wouldn't. Not to improve us to get us back to the level where I want us to be. I wouldn't buy any of the front line of Spurs. I wouldn't buy any of the starting midfield. I'd put some of their back line in the team. I'd definitely take their goalkeeper.
You wouldn't take Bentancur?
Yeah, I was going to say Bentancur would have started for us today.
Yes, no, but that ain't what I said.
But to win the league, though.
To win the league. I'm not taking. I'm literally looking at that team and I'm thinking, I think Udogie, future-wise, Vicario, Van der Ven. Porro, maybe. Something about him I really like. You've got 3 or 4 players that I look at and go, really good talents or really good players. But look how they pass and move the ball. That is on the manager. The fact Man United fans are ignoring this, it's like hearing nails run down a fucking chalkboard. So with respect, George, no, I'm not happy. My club stinks. It don't matter what you say. It absolutely stinks. Young Daniel's here. What did you make of your team today?
Listen, that first half, it was more even. The second half, we took more domination of the ball. But going into this game, I think all Tottenham fans were confident in beating this Manchester United team. And I'm disappointed to walk away with a draw. I think we definitely could have got more. But I think when going into this game, as soon as I saw that midfield in that starting 11, Ollie, Skip, and Højbjerg, I knew that we're going to get dominated in the midfield. And that's what ended up happening. I think that's what cost us from dominating more of the ball in the first half. But and it was nice to see Dragusin come on, our new signing. I think he was all right. I didn't think he did too poorly. Sad to see Mickey van der Ven walk off with an injury, but that's what happens when you sign a centre back so early in January. Now we play Man City.
It's not an injury. That's definitely. It's just cramp. That was just.
Is it really?
He saw his lips. He went, I got cramp. Yeah.
Supporting Tottenham. Honestly, as soon as I see a player go down, I already have the worst of expectations. I've honestly got the worst of expectations.
You're at the infancy of your Tottenham supporter career.
Infancy. I've been supporting Tottenham my whole life, but listen.
Yeah, and you're young.
I know 12 years old, mate. So
he's in the infancy of life. That's what he is.
But listen, I'm confident we could go on well for the next couple of games, even if the injury is bad, because we've got Dragusin, and that's what I was trying to say. Like now we got a centre back in early. We don't have to worry about. Well, we do have to worry because he's a world class. Well, not world class. He's a very good centre back. I think he has the potential to become world class. But now we've got Dragusin in, so it's like almost like we take a little bit off of that pressure instead of having now we gotta watch ERIK Dyer again. So
do you think Romero will be displaced by Dragusin?
No chance. I think today. I don't know what you guys think, but I think today Romero was class.
Yeah, he was good. He was brilliant today.
And I feel like it shows the time that you saw Rashford blow down the line. Rashford had a few chances where you could say he was through, not really through on goal, but he was through the high line, which a lot of people predicted we was going to play the high line. Rashford and Man United would find their ways through, but he just looked stuck every time that the defenders would get near him. His confidence looks out the window. You even see when he come off the pitch, he was on the bench, just looked like he was talking to himself, probably not happy with his own performance. I mean, the goal he scored, well done to him, but the only reason he scored the goal, to be honest, because he didn't have no time to think. I think that's the only way that you get the best out of Rashford. He had no time to think. He just had to hit the ball, and he put it in the back of the net. But even then, like, Man United today, for me, was just, I think it was poor all over the pitch. I don't think you even need to look at those types of names. I even think a lot of people, your star boy, Kobbie Mainoo, he was poor today. Absolute dreadful performance. He lost the ball constantly. I know he tries to play through the lines and tries to break the lines a lot more than some other defenders, some of the other players in your pit on your team, but he was poor today. And I think if you guys had more... someone like Casemiro, who I think you needed in the middle today. I think you needed someone that could retain possession, someone that could help keep the ball, and that's what you were missing.
But George, it's a system issue. So when your midfielders get the ball, when your midfielders have the ball, your fullbacks pull inside. So there are multiple options for passes. Some passes break lines, some passes just maintain possession. Kobbie gets the ball, he turns around, and there's a Hollywood ball on to Garnacho on the far left. Or there's a pass backwards, but he's surrounded by 3 or 4 people and he's isolated by himself. And I know Staffy's not here today, but Staffy was someone that went in Casemiro at the beginning of the season, sell him off to Saudi. And a lot of us were looking at it and saying, I don't think his legs have gone in the summer. I know there's all those jokes of him coming back looking like a kebab boss man. If you're not from London, you're not really going to get that. But you ever see Casemiro take his shirt off? The guy, I wish I was that fat, if you get what I'm saying, right? He was being exposed in that position, on the ball and out of possession. Young Mainu's suffering with the same situation. I was watching you today, and I was so jealous watching Tottenham when there was always 2 or 3 options for your players to pass the ball to. Man United, there's often a Hollywood ball on, or a really safe pass that just puts pressure on the next player. It's so poor the way we operate. So I actually get why Rashford's furious and frustrating. He's been at this club all this time, and all he ever gets coached to do is, I want you to run on a halfway line and we'll knock a long ball over the top. I bet he is. I bet he's talked to his friends in the Spurs squad. Oh, guess what we do in training? I bet he's fuming. Will's here with us. What are you saying about your club's performance today? Are you disappointed like George and Dan not to win today?
I'm disappointed because knowing that even if Kulusevski was in that midfield, the game has a different result. So, not to mention the other players that are missing today. So that aspect, it's disappointing. But based on who the lineup was, I can't say that I'm disappointed. Right? As soon as I saw that team sheet and the bench itself, I mean, we had 6-7 academy players on the bench. Like we didn't have anybody. So. Based on that, if I'm using my rational brain rather than my emotional one, I would say that it's probably a decent result based on who played today. But it's disappointing. I'm disappointed because if we had the better quality players that we had, I think that we could have definitely got something out of that game. But as far as the football that we were playing and stuff like that, it's all right. Timo Werner, obviously we know he can't finish, so that was no surprise. I mean, he put several shots wide or over the bar and into outer space, but all I want out of Timo Werner is what he did for Bentancur, and that's that cutback pass. If he can find Son in those types of situations, he'll be an asset to the squad. I'm not necessarily expecting him to score a goal. Look, if he doesn't score a single goal all season, but he gets 6 or 7 assists, I'm okay with that, right? As a squad player. So
yeah, see, that's what he's here for. When Son's back, he's a player that's going to sit on the bench to bring on to finish off games. 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. I was the same when I saw the lineup. I've got to be honest, I was kind of excited seeing obviously Van der Ven and Romero back, but then I was kind of half worried as well because obviously both players have come out of nowhere because we were expecting them not to be back for another few more weeks. So one wonders how fit they really are, and are they being played because there's nobody else. Obviously Dragusin, he's only just come into the team, but when I saw the rest of the midfield, when I saw Højbjerg and Skips starting together, I was just like, oh my god. So again, just like the previous fella, I was the same. Seeing that lineup, I would have before the game I would have taken 1-1, 2-2. But then as the game went on and some of the in periods where we were the better team, we had some shots, we had some chances. Romero's header that came off the bar, had that gone in, I think the game was there for us to win it had we had a little bit more quality. Brennan Johnson was absolutely so frustrating. He's just so based on that, I am a little bit disappointed. But then at the same time, I would have, before the game when I saw the lineup, I would have taken this result.
Terry, I want to know where Hassam's at today. Right, this was supposed to be the beginning of our downfall, right, Terry?
Oh, months ago.
Sam's been predicting our downfall.
This was the restart. This was the restart of the destruction of Tottenham, according to Hassam midweek, right?
Yeah. Look, listen. I wanted to ask this question to the panel about Tottenham because Big Ange Postecoglou has come out and said you're in a title race. He said it, and look, I know it gets a laugh, and this isn't trying to set Spurs fans up. This is a genuine question because what I found out about the word title race in the last couple of weeks or months, really, is that it has.
I'm breathing heavy there, boy. Flip
Jeez.
Now.
Oh, that was me. Sorry, I thought that was on.
You're not calling me privately. Relax, I've actually Staffy's got hair. I didn't have Staffy had hair or not. I just seen it for the first time. Love it, bro. Good trim. I've maybe heard 10 different definitions of what a title race is. And Ange Postecoglou seems to believe that when you're within a handful of points at the top of the league, you are by definition in a title race. The question is, this Spurs team has had loads of players out injured. It's now got lots of individuals away at AFCON and the Asian Cup. Can this Spurs team go on to? Are they in title contention at the very least this season?
100%.
If we're let's say beginning of February, we're still in touching distance, like around about where we are right now, and pretty much everybody's coming back. Then yeah, even I'm getting a little bit hopeful. Let's say I'm not saying we're going to go on to win it.
We are.
Let's be honest here. No. Let's be honest here, because this is something that I'm not going to do, and I'm not going to sit here and co-sign. Is that just because you are within points distance does not mean you're in a title race, especially when we're like 5-6 points, and the teams that we're behind, we're still behind Villa in the table. Let's be honest, we're level on points of Arsenal, and then we're still behind City and Liverpool, who, let's be honest, City and Liverpool, this is their time of the season. City don't drop points when it comes February, March, April. Yeah. Tottenham, we're not in this title race, and to sit here and try and put us on this. Any Tottenham fans trying to put if you want to put the pressure on your team, I get it. Look, we can go out there and try win points and try put ourselves in and amongst the conversation. But we're here for top 4. We know our level at this moment in time. I don't feel like we have the expectation to win the Premier League. And for me, to be in a title race, you need to be expected to win the Premier League.
I disagree with that.
No, that's not true.
That's where I disagree.
Let's not win the league then.
When I mean expected, I mean within ourselves.
Things can be true. You can be in a title race and not expect to win it. Like at the end of the day, like you can be there and there with the bouts and be like, well, we're probably not going to win it, but we're still there.
Because by that definition that you've just given, you can't call Arsenal bottle jobs last year because they weren't expected to win it. Therefore, they weren't in a title race. Therefore, they can't be bottle jobs.
I agree with that.
No, but when I mean
think about what you're doing there. Think about what you're doing and taking away from yourself.
When I say expected, I mean with regards to the team within themselves. If that team expects, they go into these games, they think they can actually win it. This Tottenham team don't look and think that they can win the title. They know that they can't. And the Arsenal team, look, you can question the Arsenal.
How do you know that they think they can't win it? How do you know they think they can't win it?
Yeah.
How do you know that? Did you call up? Did you call them up? Did you call them up?
Ange Postecoglou.
Hey, Poro, you think you can win the league?
No. But you don't measure by stats. This is something you can't measure by stats. This is what I'll measure by.
I didn't even bring up stats. I asked, how do you know that?
No. I will know by what. Hang on, you do. You use one of the biggest stats boards in the world. That's called the league table, bruv. It's literally the league table is stats. It's literally a board of stats.
Here's the thing that I believe in this. I believe you're in the title race until you're not. Because if Leicester sat there on top of the league with few games to go and said to themselves, you know what, we're not in a title race because we're Leicester and we're not expected to win. More than likely, they wouldn't have won the league. Even when they were second, if they kept on saying we're not in a title race because we don't think we can win the league, they probably wouldn't have won the league. Your team need to be thinking they're in a title race just in case something happens. Because if Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal just all drop off, and you're there in the bouts, and your team's mentality is already gone, you're already not going to win the league. You're going to be
I agree, George. Who's to say those teams aren't going to have some big injuries anyway?
I agree that Liverpool and City, if they both play and you all play to your maximum levels, I don't think you'll win the league. They're ahead of you. But I don't think you can go into it with the mentality of we're not going to look to try and win every game to try and win the league because you don't know what your opponents.
And also, wait, Terry, I just looked at the table to confirm. So if Liverpool win their game in hand, they go 8 points clear of us. That's pretty much the same gap that we have between you guys. So that's just like saying you're still
because I don't think it is. I don't think it is because but you're looking at just the points. So it isn't just about points. It's about how good you are as a footballing team as well. Man United are not just 8 points or so behind Spurs. You are superior to us in nearly every single way, probably barring the current players trying to finish chances compared to Man United. Well, I don't think Liverpool are that far superior to you this season. So I get points, but in terms of the closeness of your teams, I think there's no way you believe you're as far away from Liverpool today as Man United are from you in terms of football.
I don't believe that in terms of football, but what I believe in terms of winning the league, I'm not going to sit here and subscribe to that. Just like you said earlier, what you guys are trying to do right now, what a lot of fans try to do is try to gaslight Tottenham fans, and especially because they want us to.
I'm not sure you know what the word gaslighting means. If you think that's
when we eventually fail, and we will fail.
Jods, I can't gaslight you when your manager's saying it. I haven't brought this up. Ange Postecoglou, the man that runs your footballing element of your club, has said you're in the title race. I can't be blamed for them bringing it up as a talking point when your manager, as essentially, I've heard him do it twice now, is essentially, when they said you're in the top 4 race, I think his response was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we're only a handful of players at the top. Why are we not talking about that? Your manager said that, not me.
He didn't say that. He literally just said we're a few points off the top of the league. That was
exactly.
it.
Yeah, but you know what he's trying to say.
Being at the top of the league.
Guys, we're not in a court of law here. We all know exactly what he is implying with those comments. He's like, I don't want to chat top 4. We're aiming for the top. Because then if you do fall short, you're probably going to be in the top 4. You guys start thinking top 4 is the target and things go wrong, suddenly then you're 5th or 6th in the league. You have to aim for the top spot, even if you don't think you're going to win it. That's just my view in life. I used to go to loads of fighting tournaments, and I had some world-class fighters, some that are now in the UFC in my categories. I probably knew I weren't going to beat them, but I tried to beat them. I didn't go into it saying, I'm not going to try to win, because I probably won't. Every now and then I beat them.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a rational...
Every now and then I did. Young Daniel, you didn't really say much on this yet. You believe you're in this title race, don't you?
I honestly believe it, because we're now in January where we've had a lot of injuries. And now we've had a lot of injuries this whole season. Ever since that Chelsea game, we've been suffering from injuries. We're now in a place with January. We're getting a lot of these players back. Plus, we've already gone into the January transfer window. I said what we needed in the January transfer window to continue in the title race. Back when I was talking about this in the beginning of the season, I said we needed a backup center back, and we've gotten that in Dragusin. Still think we need a midfielder, and I still think we need somebody a little bit more clinical than Timo Werner. But I'm happy with the Timo Werner signing for the rest of the season on loan. If we get those positions sorted, we're going to have James Maddison coming back in a bit. And we have a lot more players coming back from injury now. We're tied on points with Arsenal, and Arsenal are still title contenders to a lot of people. I don't understand why disrespect is put on Tottenham's name by a lot of rivals just because it's Tottenham Hotspur. They talk about us like no disrespect to Aston Villa. Like if we're Aston Villa, like in this title race, we're not. We have a chance to like compete for it. Whether I think we're going to win the league, I don't think so. But whether we're in the race for it, of course we are.
If you're mathematically within
really
Wait, I just need to go back there on that, because that was my whole point here. Dan, you just said you don't believe that we can win it, but we're in the race. You're not in a race if you don't believe you can win it. That's my whole point here.
Wait.
You're in the race.
What Terry was getting at.
We're in and around the points mark. We're gonna stay around that. We're gonna stay in and around the top 4 and in and around the third.
Being in the race is different than winning the race.
Believe that we can win it. We're not in the race. I'm sorry.
Look, okay. There's a difference. If there's 10 guys running the race, all 10 guys are in the race, right?
Yeah.
Only one guy can win the race, but there's 10 guys in the race.
So every sprinter who faced Usain Bolt wasn't in the race because they didn't believe they could beat Usain Bolt. Is that what we?
Obviously, they went to that race and they believed that they could win the race. That's why they put so much.
Your manager believes you can win the league.
Don't believe we can win the race.
Generally speaking, in Usain Bolt's pomp, even at the end of his career, you generally only beat him if he got an injury while he was running. But your logic would mean that, George, that you would never train to win, because the likelihood of that happening was so low. You run your best race. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. We'll come back to that conversation in a minute. We're going to have some super chats to jump into as well. Staffy's here with us now. Another disappointing day for United today. Poor play overall. I suppose some shining lights. You know, Rasmus Hojlund had a really good game as an example. What was your thoughts on United today, Staff? You're on mute, my brother.
I just watched United get dominated by Spurs at home, and then I watched Egypt bottle their AFCON opener to Mozambique. I think I'm watching the wrong sport. I ended my stream early. I was about to watch El Clasico. I'm ending it. I'm going on a 2-hour break. I'm not gonna watch any more football. I need to find a new sport, because what's happening to me right now, watching these dead teams, it's not good anymore. Sir Jim, please, you're sitting up there. I don't expect Sir Jim to be sitting in the stands and watching this game and analyzing it like he's a pundit or he's some analytical guy in this game. You just watched your team play like shit at home. The fans were frustrated. You didn't win the game. Make the wise decision and start with a fresh manager. I don't want to watch this guy anymore. This football that we watched today was haram at all levels. This is haram football, okay? This man, listen, no. I'm going to try to like summarize everything real quick within the next 2 minutes, because I don't want to dwell on it for too long. The man went against a depleted Spurs team with less quality than us, on paper at least, but he had a game plan. And Ange today proved that when you have a game plan, even if you don't have the right personnel for it for now, you can still get something. And that's what he did today. He dominated the ball. We had this manager. This is how much the Ten Hag is a pussy. He put his right back and left back because he was hoping that let me just shut down Brennan Johnson, not Messi, not Ronaldo, not Neymar, not any of these top, not Mbappe. The man put Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the left to shut down Brennan Johnson. To do that, everyone was like, oh, he kept Brennan Johnson quiet. What happened every time we got the ball? You had nothing going down that left-hand side unless it was a counterattack being played from Bruno to Rashford because you have nothing on the left-hand side. You have a right back who can't even play right back, get shifted to left back. That one time where he had to control the ball and it bounced off him twice and it went to a throw in, that just summed up everything about this player. But I still have fans until this day that rate Aaron Wan-Bissaka and say, oh my God, he really improved under Ten Hag. No, he didn't. Anyways, couldn't keep the ball all game. Everyone in their right sense, at least me and the people I spoke with, were like, what do we change at halftime? Bring on Casemiro at least. Why? Because you know what? Eriksen is dead. We know Eriksen against teams that keep possession and they press, he's not good. If we couldn't build from the back playing with Eriksen, there's no point of keeping him. Just go and shut down in the second half and try to play counterattack for the rest of the game because they had a better game plan than you. What happens in the first minute of the second half? Eriksen once again loses his runner, cut back. We can see it. I've seen this goal. I need to go back. I need someone to make a compilation for me and tell me how many cutbacks we've conceded this season. Because I go to bed nowadays and I just have a nightmare of these cutbacks on repeat for the 8 hours that I'm sleeping. It's the same fucking cutback. If an average person like me can sit here behind the screen and say, we need to take him out because he's not doing anything defensively, and we concede in the first minute in the second half by him not tracking back Bentancur. So if I can see it, why can't the manager see it? And I had people saying, oh, well, if we get some players back from injuries, we're going to look better. Well, Werner just made his debut. Brennan Johnson, not the best option in right wing. Richarlison gets bantered by everyone. Harry Winks. And what's his name in the midfield? Bentancur, I rate Bentancur. What's the other one? Hojlund. Sorry, bro, they're the same person to me. They're the same thing to me. They're both NPCs, bro. We went against a front line like this and a midfield like this, and they dominate us on and off the ball, bro. It just shows you that at the end of the day, it's coaching. And people still sit here and they try to tell me, no, it's personnel. You need the personnel to win leagues. You need the personnel to push forward and become an elite team. But the basics of a team is the coaching. The basics of a team is having a plan on the pitch. When I am getting outdone by a B-Tech version of Spurs, they didn't have Addison, they didn't have Son, they didn't have Bissouma, they didn't have Papamettis Sarr. And these guys come on today and they do this today. And people still want to make excuses for this manager. This manager's out of his depth. And as I said, he is a pussy because he approached the game trying to shut up shop and he still conceded 2 goals from Richarlison and Bentancur and conceded. I am so happy we didn't lose this game because the last straw with this manager was losing the halftime record. We are at Old Trafford. We have never lost a game after leading in the first half. And this manager came this close to costing us that record as well. That's one of the records that still stands solid in Europe, and he almost cost us that. There's no future with this team, in my opinion. Doesn't matter who comes off the bench and who's injured and all that. It's nice to see Lissandro come on, play a few balls here and there with Kobe Mainoo. Yes, it was easy to see on the eye for a little bit, but at the end of the day, this team has no executed plan. And once again, Ange proved it. Ange proved it in his first season. He cost us 5 points. We only got 1 point off Spurs. In 2024, we're sitting here, we're talking about Spurs only giving us 1 point. And people want to still sit here and make excuses for this manager. To me, I think it's time for a new clean slate. Ineos, once you're confirmed, please do the right thing. Win the fans back on your side by getting rid of this manager. Because it's too toxic right now. The football's too toxic and the atmosphere is too toxic for us to watch anymore.
You know what's crazy? This whole he needs his players argument. I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, fine, he needs his players. So what the hell did we spend money on the last 3 transfer windows? Like, if we spent money on players that aren't his players, what the hell are we doing?
KJ, but that's
no sense.
That's my whole argument in the last few weeks. He's bought these players and had a say in them, and he's bought players, in my opinion, because he's used a lot of them before, or they've been part of Ajax, or they've played in that style of football. But then he's told us he isn't coaching them to play that style of football. It is absolute. Again, like I say, if you run a kitchen and you and your team, you do all the meat, you know, you cook You cook the chicken, you do the steak, you do the lamb, you do the pork, you do all of that. And then you get a new job and you hire the same team that are specialists in meat, but your new job at a new restaurant is to do dessert and pastry, and none of these guys are specialists in that. They're going to do a bad job. This is what's crazy about it for me. This is honestly the crazy element, is that we're not trying to play the brand of football that these players.
Well, that's what I'm saying is a liar, Terry.
No, I agree with you on that. I agree, and I look at it, and Ange Postecoglou is like proof in the pudding, and Spurs are nowhere near the end result yet, but they've demonstrated in 6 months how much better the football could be without having Frankie de Jong in the middle to make it work when they're doing it with goddamn Højbjerg. It is embarrassing. And I agree with everything you said, Staffy. They need to move this guy on. Man United fans need to wake up and smell the coffee. And I know you're not a Bruno fan, as an example. I know some people don't like Sancho. I know some people love the idea of Manu coming through. I know some love the idea of Garnacho. Some hate Garnacho. I know some hate Mctomiany. I genuinely believe if we were I actually don't. I'm getting to a point where I don't almost blame the players for their behavior anymore, because I'm at a stage where I look at it and think, of course they're angry, of course they're frustrated. They've got teammates at from international levels, or friends that are at Liverpool, that are at City, that are at Tottenham, that are all these clubs, Arsenal. You know, they're all friends with Jude Bellingham over there at Real Madrid, and they see how they're playing football, how they're coached, how they as individuals are being developed, and these guys, after another £400 million being spent, are told to sit in a weird shape and we're going to knock the ball long. That's why I'm at a point where I'm finding it hard to continue blaming players, no matter how good they are when we sign them or how talented they are when we promote them. They all go down the same road. And don't be surprised if in a year's time, if nothing changes, Kobe was never good enough as an example. We'll turn on him. We'll turn on everybody. Everybody goes backwards. So I listen, Staffy, I agree with you 100%. This manager, Sir Jim and Co. have got to get rid of him ASAP.
Just to prove that he's a liar. Sorry, just to prove that he's a liar again. He came out a couple weeks ago and he said that the goal is to have a team that is able to build from the back. Today, he just proved to me that once again, I've had enough proof that he's a liar. But the people that still think that he needs enough players in this, today he put Wan-Bissaka on the left back position. Now I know a lot of people with small minds, they're gonna look at him and they're gonna see what he individually did with Brennan Johnson. They'll be like, well, the plan worked because he kept them quiet. I get that, but ignore that for a second. When you put a left back who's right-footed, like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who is not good on the ball, everyone here will tell you that, and you sacrifice the low, what has the low given us in the past few games? Even people who don't like the low, they've noticed, hey, is maybe the low a left back? Because the amount of times in the last few games when he inverted in that midfield, remember the clip I sent you, Terry? And I was like, oh, that's technically what he was meant to do against Newcastle, but obviously we got dominated that game. The way he played in left back in the last few games just showed, okay, there's something there. The build-up when you're having an inverted left back in the low, and then you have Bissaka doing his thing on the right, worked for us for a few games. And I'm not saying this is not sustainable, but it worked. Today, once again, this is what I'm saying, he's a coward. He sacrificed that in order to try to shut down a winger in Brennan Johnson, which, no disrespect, he is not a high-rated player in the Premier League. So for you to give up your principles, once again, in order to achieve a side goal, which is shutting down a player, instead of imposing your plan, which is building from the back and having Dalot, who's been good in that position, invert into that midfield, give us the extra numbers in the midfield, control the ball a little bit more. For him to do that, again, this is, to me, proof that he's a liar and he's a coward, because you should have never said that 2 weeks ago if you're going to do that. To me, I've seen enough to know that. I've been saying it for a while, that he's not the man. But if this is not new evidence for people who still are sitting on the fence and they need something to convince them, I really can't save you if you can't see this. Because this is
like for me on a Man United aspect of it, I agree with Staffy. I'd be lying if I said I watched a lot of Man United, because I've only been watching the people I think are like that we have to compete with for the top of the table. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying that that's just. But what I noticed is for me, I don't know if it's if the players being changed is necessarily going to change anything either, because the way you guys played today, you played in patches. Like the intensity dropped. And intensity comes from two things. It comes from a positive mindset, a desire to go out and win the game, or it's kind of a coached aspect. So you guys losing that intensity. There was times where you just didn't even press. You just let us bring the ball into your half. You could have pressed. You guys literally backed up off of us. And I just didn't understand why, because there was like, you guys played in patches. There was like a 5-minute patch here, or a 10-minute patch there, or a 3-minute patch there, where the intensity was really high, and then it just faded. That comes from me from a mentality of, We don't believe in what we're doing.
So I think it's the coach.
Well,
I think
they're
it's the
just not
coach
being
as well,
coached
because
properly.
literally from the start, that's what Ange Postecoglou's always said. He said, listen, whoever it is, no matter what players fit, there's a way, there's a system that we're going to play, no matter who it is, no matter, you know, what it is, even when we went down, you know, when we had players sent off, he wasn't changing it.
No,
and he sticks to it. So the players have to come up to that
but he has
level.
made changes. He has made changes, your manager. When you got Basuma was sent off, he didn't stick everybody on the halfway line. He made subtle changes to make it work. That's fine. But it's Will, you're so spot on. The players don't believe in him. They don't believe in what they're doing. Now, what you then always get is, but how can you endorse player power? I'm not suggesting not working hard is acceptable, but you have to look at why. And this is the problem. Critical thinking is missing in 2024. Why they're not working hard. We understand the culture at the club has got to be fixed. We understand that player power has got to be eradicated. But these players don't want to play this brand of football. You can see it on their faces. And the irony is the fans don't like it, but they don't like the fact that the players don't. Of course, they know it isn't going to work. They understand it isn't going to work. I must have seen Ericsson today scream 5 or 6 times that these players play the ball through midfield, stop every time going for the Hollywood ball up top. But that ain't players making that decision. It's the manager telling them to do it. And that's why the team are at such loggerheads with each other, because there's players in there that are fighting against their own understanding of the game to follow through with what this manager is telling them to do. And it's why there's a comment here that says, Terry, we all hate Mctomiany because he's crap, so stop comparing him to others. I'm not suggesting that if Scott McTominay in the last 10 years had been developed via Klopp or Pep Guardiola, I'm not saying he'd be KDB, but he wouldn't be a player that everybody laughs at. Every single player at Man Utd, if Paul Pogba regressed because of this club, if Sancho regressed because of the club and the coaching, what do you think it does to less talented players? Every single player, whether you like them or not, has been impacted by the same thing at this club, the mismanagement. And we know this is true because Sheffield United, in fact, I go and watch the highlights online of what Leyton Orient did to Portsmouth yesterday. Leyton Orient mid-tables, he went and beat top of the table League One. Go and watch the football they play. In fact, KJ, you watched the Leyton Orient game in here with my brother. Leyton Orient in League One move and pass the ball better than Man United. Mm-hmm. They just do. Again, as embarrassing as they do, and this is why I understand McTominay ain't great, but he could be coached into playing better football than he does. So imagine what we could have done with Sancho, with Pogba. That to me, Bruno couldn't be better than we're seeing if he wasn't coached right. It's crazy to me.
I just don't think people understand how management can affect people's mentality. I'm a product designer in my current job, and the last one as well. And I worked in a startup. And when you first go there, you're excited, right? You want to develop the best product that you can for the company that you're working for. But then if you have a manager or a boss who doesn't buy inventory on time or doesn't do marketing enough, and things start to dwindle, and it's like, why am I working? Why am I coming in trying to design the best thing possible when no matter what I do, it's going to be a failure? And that's the mentality that I think Manchester United players have right now, right? Because if you look at the Tottenham side, and that's the opposite. We had probably, like you said, 50% of our team that was garbage. That most Spurs fans want to see leave the club, but they have an energy about them because of the manager that is getting a little bit more out of them than they're probably capable of, right, on a normal basis. And that's the difference right now. That's really the only difference.
I gotta go, guys. But listen, I also want to take a second to give props to Spurs, because I've been accused of talking for Spurs all season, and clearly now people are seeing they're actually a real deal, because they're playing B-Tech players today instead of Madison and Bissouma and them, and they still had a plan. Respect Ange. Everyone who wants to sit here and hate on Spurs, they have something cooking. They have something going on. If this manager gets backed and he gets proper players, we'll have a serious convo about them next season. But as of now, if you're a Spurs fan, I know you guys argue about league title and not league title. I'm not interested in that. As of right now, you guys should be proud because of the rebuild that you guys are going on with right now. You have a serious manager that understands football, that understands how to get the best out of his players, unlike other managers, aka mine. So whatever you guys want to disagree on, that's fine. But you need to agree on one thing, that Ange needs to be backed coming into next summer. Because if he's doing this in his first year, in less than one season, and he's turning water into wine, imagine if he actually gets backed and start getting quality players that can do what Werner couldn't do today, Richarlison scored, but a real striker like you had with the when Son was here, like when Bissouma was available. Once you guys have a real team, I think you guys are gonna have something good cooking on. I don't know if Spurs are gonna do it because they don't have a history of backing managers properly. But you guys got something going on. You guys deserve to back and respect to you. Anyone else, you guys can hold up because you're a bunch of haters. But Terry, listen, bigger friend.
Staffy, my bro. I appreciate that, mate.
I'll chat to you.
We're going to go to some super chats in a minute. I did want to have a conversation. I want to go Steve first on this, who's a neutral with us today. What did you make of Rasmus Hojlund's performance? Because he's obviously been heavily criticised this season for not scoring enough, for not doing enough in Premier League games. What did you make of that young man today?
Took the goal really well. Definitely. Like, the kid has ability. I don't think he has a wide range of skill sets. From what I saw at Sturm Graz and a little bit at Atalanta. But what he does do well, he does really well. So he has a few things that he does really well. And if you play into those strengths, you'll get a good player that can get you goals. So the goal early helped his performance later, right? Goals change games, and goals help out players like the morale, what we were just talking about with managers, giving you that morale, giving you that injection of belief, and then the belief can translate to good performances. Yeah, I like what I saw from Hojlund today better. I still think he's lacking a bit of service, but he's just doing his thing, man. I think he'll be a good player, but you do need to find someone, and that's been a problem over the years for Man United, working the graveyard shift as striker. Right, because you don't have wingers that look to pass first. You have Rashford, who likes to just take a few touches, shoot right away. Garnacho is a bit of a better passer of the ball, assist, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I thought he did well, man. I thought he did well. Something to build off of. Another Premier League goal. Yeah, he's a good player, man. I like Hojlund.
How about yourself, Cam? I know you've been critical of him at times. What did you make of his overarching performance today for United?
He was really good today. If you have eyes, you could see it. The one piece of skill he had when he went on the outside, that was brilliant. There's that if Staffy nailed it with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like, that guy's just bad. If Wan-Bissaka could pass the ball, he was in that. So the runs I've been hoping for, and that I've been saying he needs to make and give his team an outlet. If Wan-Bissaka got the pass right, he was in on goal, nobody around him, he's too fast. That would have been 1v1 done. The fact that he took the shot on when Rashford probably should have shot, and just the way first of all, I didn't realize he was so left-footed. But the fact that he took that whole, when you look at that whole sequence, when he took the ball, kept it on his left foot, and just hammered it, that's the confidence that I want to see from him. I know he's not going to get a lot of these opportunities, but Rasmus, every time you get one, please just take those shots. Please just do that. And I know we're going to see more once he gets comfortable. There's a few moments where, obviously, if we could cross the ball a bit better versus it just going straight to the keeper, he was in good spaces. So what I do when I watch Rasmus play to ensure I'm not just being, tunnel visioned, I always watch him off the ball more than anything now. I don't really care when he gets on the ball, because I think on the ball, I've seen enough of him to say he has the quality to be a good striker. It was always off the ball. Today, off the ball, he was fantastic. Like, every run he made, he was closer than. There's times where I was just like, if we could just find him a bit better, he'll bang. So that's one player where a lot of people want to hate and 2 goals and whatever and all this. And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm one of these people who, and I get slated for this when I talk about the Champions League. To me, I don't care nearly as much as like people in Europe, and that's just maybe whatever. But you can't say the Champions League is the end all be all, the best competition, better than the Prem or whatever, and then be like, we're going to discount his goals in the Champions League. So this year he's got 7 goals. When you look at it, I know it's not all in the Prem, and I know he's going to need some time to get there. But today I've got nothing. My criticism's been off the ball, and he was great off the ball today. And I just think we're seeing it. Game after game after game, he's eventually going to be the guy we hope he can be in the future. That's where I'm at with him.
Well, yo, Dan's dad came in and goes, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing on screen?"
I wanted to ask Will, from an opponent's point of view, what did you make of watching Rasmus today up against your 2 best centre backs as well? Like, how do you think he did?
I actually, in the first half, I thought he did pretty well. And there was spots in the second half, too, where I thought he was good. Like, it's probably one of the first people I see beat Van de Ven one-on-one. he might have been a little tired at that point, but that touch that he took around the side of Van der Ven was really good. How old is he? I don't really know how old he is.
20.
21.
Yeah, so yeah.
No, he's 20. He's 20. He's
20.
20.
He's
He's
20.
21 next month. Yeah.
I think he's got a lot of potential. I mean, the strike, that strike was about as perfect as you can get, right? Roof of the net at about 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's what you want to see. But the consistency is going to be the key, right? He's going to have to get. Look, I mean, Harry Kane at that age wasn't anything special either, right? But so, is it possible for him to get really good? Yes. Does it mean that he will? No. But I mean, you just got to give the guy some time. At 20 years old, striker is still really young.
So. It doesn't help that the best person to probably play him in Bruno Fernandes is being told to play deep and just hoof balls forward. Like, and this is what's frustrating me about Hojlund. It's not necessarily about him; it's the players around him. Like Garnacho on the right is starting to try and find him with the crosses and playing balls in behind, which I'm happy with. Rashford on the left, he sometimes will try and find him, and then he'll sometimes do what he did earlier in the game, which led to the goal, which is just take everyone on and try and score. So he's inconsistent in that. The one player that, as much as he's frustrating me right now, and I don't think he's the person to lead us to titles in Bruno Fernandes, he is actually good at working with strikers when he's close to them, when he's actually next to them. He's actually good at finding them, providing assists, being creative in that sense. But now he's been told to play super deep, drop really deep, and play these long balls that 60% of the time lead to nothing. And this is what will hamper Hojlund the most. Not Haaland, Hojlund the most, in my opinion. If he's not getting constant support from the players around him, he will never reach his potential. Because as much as I do believe strikers can make things for themselves, create goals for themselves, go on runs, battle with defenders, and make something happen, that can only happen so much in a season. A striker that has to make his own chances every game, he's never going to develop. He's never going to develop. He's never going to score.
Yeah, you got to get him in a system. You got to get him in a system where you're kind of doing what we're doing, where we have those cutbacks, right? Because the way that ball fell to his left foot and the way he took it was really good. So if that was a cutback in that same situation, I think you'd see a lot more goals from him. But
I agree.
You're right, balls over the top. I don't think his conversion rate is like somewhere like Son, where he's going to get 1 or 2 chances and finish them, right? So
I look at it this way. For me, in the first half, he was operating well. He was creating. He scored. He faded in the second, but it's because Scott Mctominay came on. Scott Mctominay comes on and he plays in his area, in his space, and it's like that area is crowded. Too many cooks spoil the broth. And I understand Mctominay nearly got the winner at the end, and if it had got the winner, there'd be a certain percentage of the Man United fan base that would say, you know, Ten Hag masterclass. For me, if he brings on Casemiro and he utilizes Hojlund in the same way, I think we create as many good chances in the second half as we did in the first. It was great hold-up play from him again to play Rashford in, who went on the outside, should have shot with his left foot, could have scored and gone 3-1 up at that point. We didn't do that really in the second half, and it's because Mctominay, and I'm not blaming Mctominay because he's told to go on and play there, but he comes on and operates in his space, and I think Hojlund just then sits and goes, well, what am I meant to do? Because there's now someone operating here. It's also frustrating because they kind of move and look quite similar on the pitch from the TV view, and I sometimes don't know which one of them it is until after the commentator says their name. But for me, I was really impressed with Hojlund today. I know there's a player in him. I know he's there. And the irony is the same people I see that say our system's dead and it ruined Martial and it ruined Sancho and it's ruined Pogba and it's ruined Rashford are absolutely fuming and beating Hojlund over the head, saying, well, do more. I'll just sit there and think, I'm so confused by that logic. It's crazy to me.
Because I gotta skip soon, but one thing I just want to say on him that's very clear, at least, that I'm enjoying seeing from him is his head doesn't drop. He's one of the few players in the team that seems to continue to play real hard no matter what goes on. And that's something we've been kind of missing from well, I mean, if you look at the strikers we brought in to lead the line, we haven't really had many. And the one everybody loves so much can't get through half a game without his head dropping. So I think with Hojlund, at very least, we have a player who I think playing for the badge and wants to be there. And at 20 years old, that's where you kind of think about, when I think about team rebuilds, I think about who you're rebuilding around, right? What's the rebuild look like and what's the age reference? You can't win with just kids, but you need the right profile of youngsters who want to be there to grow together to actually be that later on. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to with him, but I'm going to skip people.
Yeah. All right, then, brother. No worries at all. Thank you, bro. Let's do some of these super chats here, guys. This one says, Terry, what happened to the standard of football in the Premier League? Are there too many games? Well, same amount of games as ever for everyone as well. What we saw today was so bad. Lee Gunner is right. I don't think
I was
team.
I was underwhelmed a little bit. I can't lie.
In what way? But what do you, when you say underwhelmed, define that. What were you expecting from one of the worst Man United teams in 40 years and a Spurs team at the beginning of a rebuild with half their first team players out?
Yeah.
Like that's my point. Like, because last night, what we saw, Newcastle, I know you didn't like it, you're a Newcastle fan. Newcastle versus Man City last night was one of the highest quality games you'll see in football anywhere in Europe this year. And I understand there was some poor nature to it. I just think sometimes people run on nostalgia. You know, all people grow up in the UK and they all think it was a white Christmas when they were kids, but it barely happens. We all think the summers were warmer and longer than they are now.
As in snow, people, just to let you know, white as in snow.
Everybody knows what white Christmas means. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine? No one knows what that means. Yes, but people kind of lie a little bit. And my grandparents, it was safe to walk the streets when I was a kid. I went, you grew up in the East End of London 80 years ago. It wasn't safe. What are you lying about? It was more dangerous than it is now. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So nostalgia takes over sometimes, but it works in reverse. Are things, the level has completely fallen off now. And every generation does that to the previous generation. And Dan, how old your mum and dad, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mean to put them on the spot, but they're around the 35, 30 mark.
Okay, my age then, yeah. I bet how much do they slag your music off?
Loads. They slag my team off more though, to be fair.
The team, yeah, but they slag your music off. And the irony is, 20 years ago, their parents are slagging their music off.
Yeah.
In 20 years, you're gonna slag your kids' music off. And
Terry, it's not even.
Sorry, mate, go on.
It's not even 20 years ago. It's like every party they put on a song from their old days, and then their parents are like, "Nah, this tune sucks," and then they change it to their old days, and then it's like a pattern every.
I guarantee I like your parents' music because we're about the same age, so it's one of them things, right? But the point is I understand there are some things that are bad right now in football. But there are loads of things that are brilliant. If you watch what Liverpool and what City have done in the last few years, the football Spurs are playing this season, the football that we're seeing from mid-table teams now in the Premier League. In fact,
United.
I'll tell you what, the standard. I went and watched the League One game for the first time in about 5 years a few weeks back. The way the ball's being passed and moved at League One level in England. 10 years ago, that ball was just being knocked long into the channels every minute. The standard of football has increased and has improved. Do I think we have as many special footballers as we did 20 years ago? No. And that's because football has become very regimented, very scientific, very mathematical, very rigid because of the likes of Pep. They've changed football. But in another 20 years, it's going to change and evolve again, and there'll be something else. And the new generation will say it's amazing, and your generation will say it's not like when I was younger. You're not going to say it's not like when you were younger because you don't remember. You weren't born. Do you know what I'm saying? So I get where you're coming from. I don't necessarily think that Lee Gunner's got. I look at it this way: if football's getting, I know the Premier League is well marketed, but you can't market shit. You spend £1 billion advertising an album that I'm singing on, it won't sell. It's going to sound awful still. The reason that more and more people are subscribing and watching the Premier League is because they find it entertaining. They love the games. They love the way we play. So I don't believe overall the standard is going backwards. That doesn't mean, by the way, that the league is crap and Serie A is crap and the Bundesliga is crap. I don't think it has gone down. I think nostalgia is creeping in slightly. KJ and my man got the buy one, get one free.
Because me and Deezy's were wearing the snooties today, man.
Right. There we go. Even Ralph, Gegenpress inventor, couldn't play with these players. Players equally, if not more responsible than the manager. Erik ten Hag also shit, though. Mr. 10 looks like having an attitude problem, as in Rashford.
Yeah,
you could argue he's got an attitude problem. You could. Do I understand it at times? Yes. I suppose it depends on your disposition towards that player. Spurs have a chance to sign a ruthless striker to kill games off. They're scoring far. They are scoring fast. They are in the race George, grow a pair and demand more from your club. Lol is what Manny says here. And Ten Hag has gotten obsessed with having a quick front line that he has ditched his footballing principles and wants to play counter-attack, puts him out of his misery. It's a great point. It's a great point. But look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned in today. I want to say congratulations to Tottenham. With that level of players missing from your team, the way you're playing, the way you're moving forward, it isn't the result you wanted today. But I'll echo what Staffy said. If your club back your manager and you keep buying quality, this team could achieve great things in the next 4 to 5 years. There's no doubt. Man United on the other end, it's another painful weekend for us. But at least there's no Premier League game for us now for 2 weeks. So that I am very, very happy about. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in today. Please hit like buttons. Please subscribe. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.